Have you ever found yourself in the same argument with a different person? A different face, same pattern. You try to stay calm. You try to be better. But suddenly, you're saying things you swore you'd never say again. Your voice changes. You feel out of control. And afterward, you wonder what just happened. That's not just stress. That's not just how life is. That's a pattern. And according to Carl Jung, that pattern has a name: the shadow. It's the part of you you've rejected. The part you don't want to admit exists. The resentment, the rage, the part that's tired of being nice. The one that's been watching quietly while you try to be a good person. And here's the truth that most people will never hear. What you don't face in yourself will control you. It will choose your partners. It will speak in your silence. It will shape your reality. And you'll swear it's just fate. Jung warned us, make the unconscious conscious. If you don't, it becomes your destiny. This video isn't self-help. It's a mirror. And if you feel even a little called out right now, don't scroll away, because we're not done. If you want more than comfort, if you want to understand the mechanism behind your own pain, subscribe to Restless Wonder. This is only the beginning. The shadow you refuse to see. Think about this. As a child, you learned which parts of you were acceptable and which ones weren't. If you cried too loud, you were told to stop being dramatic. If you got angry, you were scolded for being disrespectful. If you wanted attention, you were called selfish. So you adapted. You smiled when you were hurt. You stayed quiet when you were furious. You made yourself smaller just to be loved. That adaptation kept you safe, but it came at a cost. You didn't get rid of those feelings. You just buried them. You pushed them out of sight, out of consciousness. And that's where they became dangerous. Carl Jung called this the formation of the shadow, the unconscious storehouse of every emotion, impulse, or truth you've learned to hide. But what's hidden doesn't disappear. It festers, and eventually it finds a way out. Have you ever seen someone overreact, explode over something small, and thought, that wasn't really about the situation? That's the shadow breaking through. It shows up when you judge others harshly. It's behind your need to control everything. It leaks out in sarcasm, in passive aggression, in quiet resentment. And the most disturbing part, you probably think it's just your personality, that this is just how you are. But it's not. It's a mask, and it's hiding something powerful underneath. The shadow isn't evil. It's just unacknowledged. And until you turn toward it, deliberately, without flinching, it will keep playing you like a puppet. This isn't about blaming your parents. It's about finally taking back what you abandoned to survive. And that's where real strength begins. What you don't confront, you become. There's a strange thing that happens when you spend your life avoiding certain emotions. You don't get rid of them. You absorb them. You don't just repress your anger. You become the kind of person who makes others feel it. You don't just deny your need for control. You manipulate situations from the background, pretending it's all coincidence. You don't just hide your jealousy. You destroy people who remind you of what you secretly want. Jung didn't speak in self-help language. He didn't say, fix yourself. He said this: you become the thing you refuse to see. And that transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, in how you treat people, in what you justify, in the small betrayals you excuse in the name of just being human. Look at history. The most monstrous acts were not committed by people who embraced their darkness, but by people who believed they were righteous. People who projected their inner corruption onto others, who created villains outside themselves to avoid facing the ones within. It's the moral purity that makes the shadow most dangerous. And this is where it gets personal. When you don't look inward, you don't stay neutral, you leak into your relationships, your parenting, your choices. You become a mirror of the very thing you hate in others. And you won't even see it, because the shadow doesn't just hide in shame. It hides in virtue. It hides in doing the right thing. It hides behind every excuse you've built to avoid facing yourself. And until you confront it, you'll keep wondering why life feels hollow, unfair, or strangely repetitive. This isn't punishment. It's reflection. Why you keep attracting pain disguised as love. Think about your last relationship, the one that left a mark, the one where you felt drained, confused, addicted to their approval, terrified to lose them. Maybe they weren't abusive. Maybe they even said they loved you, but it didn't feel like love. It felt like tension, like walking on glass, like performing a version of yourself just to keep the peace. And maybe you've noticed, the faces change, but the dynamic doesn't. You keep ending up with people who treat you the same way. Dismissive, unavailable, controlling. It feels unfair, but the truth behind it is worse. You're not attracting these people randomly. You're repeating something unfinished inside you. Carl Jung believed that we don't just fall in love with people. We're pulled to them by unconscious patterns. We recreate emotional environments that feel familiar, even if they're painful. Especially if they're painful. If love felt conditional in childhood, then unconditional love feels foreign. If connection required self-abandonment, then authenticity feels dangerous. So we gravitate toward what we know, not what we need. We mistake anxiety for chemistry. We call it passion, but it's reenactment. A subconscious attempt to resolve an old wound using new players. But that never works, because the healing can't happen out there until the recognition happens in here. If your relationships keep hurting in familiar ways, that's not bad luck. It's your shadow calling attention to something you still haven't claimed. And until you face it, love will always feel like war, even when it comes in peace. The lie of the good persons. Everyone wants to believe they're a good person. But it's selfless, caring. It's comforting until you realize how much destruction has been justified in the name of goodness. Carl Jung warned about this. He saw the danger, not in openly malicious people, but in those convinced of their own moral purity. Because once you believe you're the good one, you stop questioning your motivations. You stop seeing your manipulation, your pride, your quiet superiority. And worse, you start projecting your darkness onto others. That's how it begins. You're helpful, but secretly need to be needed. You're agreeable, but see the inside. You give endlessly and resent everyone who doesn't return it. It's not kindness. It's a performance. And somewhere beneath that performance is a child who learned that being good was the only way to feel safe. This isn't your fault. It's how survival worked. But as an adult, it becomes a prison. You start policing your own instincts, ashamed of your own truth. You suppress your anger to appear mature. You silence your needs, so no one calls you selfish. And eventually, you forget who you are beneath the mask. The world rewards this. It tells you to be humble, generous, patient. But it never tells you how these virtues rot when they're rooted in fear. Being a good person doesn't mean being agreeable. It means being whole. And wholeness includes your shadow. Until you claim it, your goodness will always be hollow, built on denial, not depth. This video isn't here to inspire you. It's here to expose you. By now, something inside you probably feels unsettled. Maybe your chest is tight. Maybe part of you wants to dismiss all of this. That's not coincidence. That's contact. The contact with something you've been avoiding for years. Carl Jung believed the transformation begins the moment we stop intellectualizing our problems and start recognizing ourselves in them, not as victims, not as heroes, as participants in the patterns we keep repeating. This isn't a video about abstract theory. This is a mirror, and if it's doing its job, you're not just thinking, you're seeing. Maybe you're remembering the moment you swallowed your anger to keep the peace, or the night you gave more than you had just to feel wanted, or that strange guilt you feel when you say no, like you're betraying some invisible rule. These aren't random memories. They're fragments of your shadow surfacing, asking to be acknowledged. People scroll through content, hoping to feel better. But sometimes, you don't need comfort. You need clarity. And clarity doesn't always feel good. It often shows up as discomfort, defensiveness, or a voice in your head that says, "This can't be true about me." But here's the uncomfortable part. If you feel resistance, you're probably getting close to something real. Truth doesn't flatter. It confronts. And growth doesn't come from feeling seen. It comes from seeing yourself clearly, maybe for the first time. Your suffering has a pattern, and it's not random. Ever notice how your pain tends to wear the same face, even when life around you changes? New job, new partner, new routine. And yet, somehow, the same old exhaustion returns. The same loneliness creeps in. The same anxiety reappears. Different situation, same wound. That's not a glitch in your life. That's a design. The psychological loop forged in the unconscious, repeating until it's understood. Carl Jung believed that every recurring struggle is trying to teach you something, not with words, but with repetition. Because what you refuse to examine, your mind will keep recreating, not to punish you, but to wake you up. Imagine this. A woman keeps choosing emotionally unavailable partners. She tells herself it's just bad luck or a lack of options. But beneath that story is something older, a childhood where affection was inconsistent, where love had to be earned, where emotional absence felt like home. So she repeats the story, hoping this time it will end differently. But it never does, because she's reenacting, not healing. Your life does the same. It recreates the emotional texture of your earliest imprints. And until you recognize the pattern, you'll keep mistaking the past for the present, acting out old scripts on new stages. It's disturbing to realize that your greatest pain might be self-authored. But it's also empowering, because the moment you can trace the pattern, you gain the power to disrupt it. Your suffering is trying to tell you something. Stop silencing it with distractions. Start listening. Integration or repetition, you must choose. There comes a moment, quiet, usually uncomfortable, where you realize you have two options. Keep looping through the same emotional cycles, or walk straight into the parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime avoiding. Carl Jung didn't believe healing was about becoming better. He believed it was about becoming whole. And wholeness isn't light. And bliss and clarity. It's mess. It's contradiction. It's facing the parts of you that embarrass you, that scare you, that make you question everything you think you are. Integration means pulling the shadow into the light without shame. It means recognizing the voice in you that wants control, attention, revenge, and instead of condemning it, understanding it. Where did it come from? What was it protecting you from? What is it still asking for? This isn't about indulging your darkness. It's about disarming it through awareness. Because the moment you stop treating your shadow like an enemy, it loses its power to sabotage you. You don't heal by deleting parts of yourself. You heal by giving those parts language, by noticing when they speak through your reactions, your projections, your cravings, and choosing again and again not to act blindly, but to stay conscious. Most people never make that choice. They keep repeating. They blame the world. They stay stuck in narratives that feel safe, even if they hurt. But if you've made it this far into this video, you're probably not most people. And the truth is simple. Integration is painful, but repetition, it slowly kills you. Stop escaping. Start facing, or keep suffering. We live in a culture built on escape. Scroll, swipe, sedate, avoid. Every moment of silence is filled. Every discomfort is numbed, and every signal from your inner world gets labeled as a problem to fix or a weakness to hide. But Jung understood something we've forgotten. What you escape doesn't disappear. It festers. It grows teeth in the dark. And eventually, it comes back louder, sharper, more disguised. That unexplained sadness in the middle of a good day, that sudden anger at someone who didn't deserve it, that emptiness you can't name, even when everything looks fine. These are echoes, messages from a part of you, still waiting to be seen. There is no shortcut to peace. There is only the long, honest work of facing what hurts and integrating what was once denied. And that starts with one brutal question. Where in my life am I still running? Running from conflict, from truth, from the parts of yourself you were told were unacceptable. You don't need another book or meditation app or 5-step morning routine. You need courage. To sit with your discomfort, to name your patterns. Stop pretending you're fine when something inside you knows you're not. The shadow isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to reintroduce you to yourself. So face it or repeat it. That's the choice. And if this video stirred something in you, share what hit hardest. Your story might be someone else's turning point. And if you're ready for more uncomfortable truth, subscribe to Restless Wonder. We're not here to help you feel better. We're here to help you wake up.